to another board game review video. You're watching Demented Robot Channel. My name is Boris, and today, as always, I'm here to show you a game, to do a game review for you guys so that you can see what it is and how it works. Today we're taking a look at Great Western Trail, a game for a game for 2 to 4 players, released by Pegasus Spiele, designed by Mr. Alexander Pfister. This is a heavy Euro game in which you will take on a role of a cowboy who's driving cattle up north to Kansas City to sell it. So in this game you will be a cowboy, but not in the sense that you are used to according to popular culture, okay? Historical cowboys were not people who shot their guns all the time and who made trouble and who got into these fights in saloons and stuff like that. Historical cowboys were basically people who drove cattle and you know, who took care of cows, basically, and bred cows and sold cows, okay? So this is the kind of cowboy that you're going to portray in this game, a cowboy who has cows, who has a herd of cattle, and you will be driving your cattle from south up north to Kansas City, where you will try to sell your cows and earn money. In this game you will be doing a lot of stuff. You will go along this trail, hence the name Great Western Trail, right? You will go along this trail, visit various locations where you will be able to perform different actions. You will buy new cattle, you will sell cattle, you will get your quality certificate points, you will try to advance your railway system, you will hire additional workers to help you perform better, you will try to avoid these hazards, you will build your own locations that will help you along the way. There's a lot you can do in this game. You will see in the next section of the video, when I start demonstrating how this game works, there's a lot going on in this game. This is a heavy Euro game. It's not going to be short, it's not going to be easy, but is it going to be good? We're going to see in the next section of the video, where I will place the game on the table, I will set it up for you guys, and I will show you in general terms how the game looks and how it works and what you can expect from that. So without much further ado, let's do that. Okay people, this is how the game looks like on the table. Now, this is a complicated game. There's a lot of components, a lot of setup, a lot of things going on in the game, a lot of strategic possibilities here, a lot of possible paths that you can follow. So obviously I'm not going to get into every single detail about this game, but I think I'm going to do a good job of giving you the idea of how the game works and how it feels and what you can expect from it. So in order not to lose too much time, let's dive right into it. In this game, as I said at the beginning, you're going to represent a cowboy, but a real historical cowboy who's going to travel from south, from this position here. You see this little wooden guy is your cowboy. Okay, so from south, you're going to be taking a path. You're going to be traveling down this forking path with a lot happening on it, all the way north to Kansas City, where you're going to try and sell your cattle. So basically you're herding your cattle up north to Kansas City, where you're going to sell it for a certain amount of money, and then you're going to ship your cattle to one of these towns on the railway track. As you can see, these are towns and cities, and thus you will earn money and earn victory points. Whoever has most victory points at the end of the game will be the winner of the game. So basically you will be traveling this path, taking these forks, visiting these locations, performing actions on these locations, performing your own actions on your player board, and you are going to try to generate more victory points than the other guys. Okay, so that's the general outlook of the game, the general idea. Now I'm going to explain to you guys how the game works, and through this explanation you're also going to understand what different components are. Okay, so on your turn, you will move your cowboy up to a certain number of spaces. Now, depending on the number of players, which you can see here on your player board. You will be placing these additional tiles on your player board to accommodate the number of players. I have placed this modifier tile here for 3 players. We're pretending to play a game of 3 players here. And you will see here this little number that shows that you can move up to 3 spaces. Of course, over the course of the game, you will be unlocking these abilities and you will be able to move more than that. But by default, in a 3-player game, you will be moving up to 3 spaces away from your current location, which means that you can move the maximum of 3, but if you want, you can move only 1 or 2, or the maximum of 3. Now, spaces are only those places on the board which are filled with these cardboard tiles, with these components. These empty spaces are simply ignored. These can be filled with other buildings and other locations over the course of the game, but as long as they are empty, they are ignored. So for example, I can move my cowboy. If I follow this path here, I can move my cowboy 1, 2, and then 3 and land on this space. But if I take this path here, I will move 1, then 2 along this path, and then I can move, let's say 3 to this location, or 3 to this location. Okay, so the path is forking, and you are counting the number of locations that have this cardboard component on them. Only those are counted as spaces on the board. When you land on a location, you are then ready to fulfill the action of that location. Now, the most important locations in the game are these, at least at the beginning, are these gray neutral locations, these square tiles. You will recognize them because they have the gray outline, the gray borders. Those are neutral locations, which means that everybody can visit them regardless of who it is. Over the course of the game, you will be able to build your own buildings in your own color and place them on these spaces. Those actions will be available only to you. Okay, everybody can visit them, but your own tiles in your own color, only you will be able to use for their actions. But these gray tiles that are placed on the board at the beginning of the game are neutral and everybody can visit them. This way or the other, when you land on a certain location, up to your maximum movement, you will then be able to perform actions that this location allows you to perform. These actions will be depicted by these icons in the lower section of every location. Over the course of the game, you will learn the pictograms and the iconography, so you will be able to know what every location allows you to do. Most locations will have 2 actions, out of which you are allowed to perform both. Or if you want to forfeit one of them, you can only perform 1, but you can essentially perform both of those actions. Those actions can be a lot of different things. You can sell your cattle. You can sell something from your hand for money and then exchange that card, draw another card in your hand. You can hire these workers from the job market here. You can build new buildings and place them on the board. You can improve the quality of your cattle, improve the quality certificate rating of your cattle, and then move this little cube here. You can, I don't know, trade with the Indians on these locations. You can do a lot of different stuff. These actions, you can move your railway forward and advance it, which is very important. You will see why later. You can do a lot of stuff by using these actions. But here's the rub. You don't have to use the action of the location. If you want, you can use actions on your player board, which is this guy here. You will see that here in this row, you have certain actions. In the beginning, you only have 2 unlocked actions that you can use. But over the course of the game, as you remove these discs, you will be unlocking other abilities and you will become more powerful, or have more powerful abilities. So you can choose, instead of performing these location actions, to perform one of your actions which are called secondary actions. This way or the other, you will be moving to a location up to the number of spaces that you're capable of moving, perform the action of either a location or your secondary actions on your player board, and then you will be taking turn after turn trying to reach Kansas City. Once you do, you will then perform a couple of steps. There's 5 steps, as you can see depicted by these numbers. You will perform all of them at once. one after the other, and try to sell your cattle in Kansas City. So these 5 stages are something that you have to go through when you reach Kansas City. And you do them all at once. You do not wait for other players in between these stages. You just, this is the last stage of your journey, so you perform everything, okay? In these first 3 stages, you're simply going to pick one of the 2 tiles you have in each place, and you will just pick one and place it on the board where it applies. So for example, when my cowboy reaches space 1, I will pick one of these 2 tiles. In this particular, these tiles are randomly chosen from the supply, okay? So let's say that I pick up this hazard here. This is a mountain hazard, and I place it here in this place on the board. Now, these hazards are something I haven't talked to you about. These are additional locations which basically require you to pay when you land on that location. So most of the time you will avoid these hazards, but sometimes you will deliberately land on them and pay money for that hazard because you don't want to pay somebody else. If somebody else has a location on the board which causes you to pay them for visiting or passing through that location, because that can happen once players start building their own locations in these empty spots, then you will rather pay to the bank than pay another player and give them free money for visiting their location or passing over their location, okay? So that's why these hazards are sometimes an option, although you have to pay for them. This way or the other, when I go here to this first position, I will pick one of these 2 choices and place it on the board where it applies. This is a mountain hazard, it applies here. I place it on the lowest position. Then I go to the other section, and then I pick one of the workers. Of course, these tiles could have been, these workers could have been different. So let's say that I pick one cowboy. I place that cowboy here on my player board. I will explain how those workers work a little bit later. And then I go to the third section. I pick one of these tiles. Let's say, sorry, I don't pick, I goofed up. I don't play it on my board. I place it here on the job market, okay? Then in the third position, I pick something else up. Let's say that I will pick this tippy tile, and I will place it on the lowest available position, which is here. And then I can move on forward. In the fourth position, I'm going to sell my cattle. And this is where these cards come into play. You know, you will have your hand of cards. In the beginning, you will have a hand of 4 cards. Later on, you can unlock those more cards. And you know, you will see what you have in your hand and what you can sell these cards for, okay? Now, all these cards in your hand represent cattle. They represent cow. These are basically, your hand of cards is the cattle that you're driving to Kansas City and you're trying to sell it. So your hand of cards will have a certain sum of cards. They will have different colors and different numbers. These numbers represent how valuable these cows are. But here's the rub. When you sell your cattle, any duplicate cards do not count. So in this particular case, I have this Jersey cow, gray, for 1. I have this Guernsey white cow for the value of 2. But I have 2 of Black Angus cows here. They are the same. So I have 1 duplicate card, so that card will be ignored. So this will not count, this duplicate card will not count toward the final value of my cattle. I will just ignore it, okay? And I will only count these cows. So right now I have the value of 5, and that's what I can pay, what I can earn for my cattle here at Kansas City. If I have any certificate, quality certificate points here, okay, I can expend those points to increase the value of my cattle before I sell cattle. Let's say that I have 0 points here, so I will sell for 5. I will then receive $5 from the bank, and then I have to deliver my cows, my cattle. I have to do that in this final section, 5th section of Kansas City, where I will deliver to one of these cities along the railroad track, okay? Now, every city has a number here. You will see underneath the name of the city, you will see a number. That is the number that you need to match or exceed to be able to deliver to that particular city. Right now, my cattle has a value of 5, so I cannot deliver further than Wichita here. That requires 4
or more to deliver there. So I can deliver to Wichita. Colorado Springs is 6. I cannot deliver there because I have sold my cattle for 5. So I can deliver to Wichita. Let's say that I will take this disc from my player board and I will place it to Wichita to denote that I have delivered my cattle there. By doing so, I have uncovered one ability on my player board. Now I have this ability and I could use it as the secondary action. So by placing these discs, you're basically unlocking new abilities for yourself or boosting existing ones. So I have placed my disc here on Wichita to denote that I have delivered my cattle here. And then I have to pay for the delivery cost. The delivery cost that you have to pay is the number of these X symbols in between the nose of your locomotive and the city to which you are delivering. That's why advancing your railway over the course of time is important, because the further down the track this little locomotive of yours is, the less you will have to pay for delivery. Okay, so if my locomotive is here, I will pay $1 to deliver to Wichita. But if my locomotive surpasses Wichita, I will pay nothing for delivery. So that's how this railway advancement is useful for you, because you pay less for delivery. There's more things that you can get by advancing your railway, but I will speak about that later. Okay, so that's how you deliver. Okay, you can only deliver to any city once. Okay, the only exception to that rule is your starting city, Kansas City. You can deliver there as many times as you want, but that will bring you negative points. So you have to be careful about that. And you can deliver any number of times to this last city in this line, San Francisco. You can put any number of discs here as well. But all the cities in between can only be delivered to once, and that is very, very important to pay attention to. Okay. Now, for delivering, I will get victory points. I can get victory points or some other perks here, but you will see that every icon here has 2 green arrows pointing both left and right, which means that they will only be active if I deliver to both adjacent cities that this icon is placed between. Okay. So when I've done all this, when I've sold my cattle and delivered, I will then move my cowboy to the starting space of the track. I will discard these cards to my discard pile. I will draw a new hand of cards, and then on my next turn, I can start walking this trail again. That's basically the structure of the game. Okay. Now let me explain a couple of more things here. Okay. Now I mentioned advancing your railway, which you can advance your locomotive further by using some of these actions on these locations. Okay. Now, the further the railway is, the less you will pay for delivery, obviously. But you will see these stations here along the railway track. Okay, these are train stations. When you move your locomotive, you can spend 1 movement to visit the station like this, and then you can upgrade that station by placing your disc here. You will then receive the reward, which is placed here. And then you can even take one of your workers, if you have any. Let's say that I have 1 worker, and assign this worker to be the station master. You will then take this tile instead where you put your worker instead. You will place it in your possession, and this will bring you some benefits immediately and some victory points at the end of the game. Okay, so that's one additional reason why you should advance your railway system forward. Now, there's a couple of more things that I want to tell you about. Okay, for example, this here is the job market. I've only mentioned it. Now you will see how it works. For one of the actions on these locations, you can hire workers. Of course, you will have to pay for them. Here you will see how much you have to pay for the worker in every row. Okay. So you can hire these workers. When you do, you will place them on your player board like this. You can have as many workers in every category as you have spaces here. So I can do this, and over the course of the game, I can do this, and then I can take 1 cowboy, okay, and place them here, okay. So I will place my workers here. there are three categories. There are cowboys, there are construction workers, and there are railway workers. Each of these workers is going to boost my abilities in that given category. The more cowboys I have, the cheaper I will buy new cattle from this market here. This is a cattle market. For this action here on this location, I will be able to buy cattle from here. The more cowboys I have, the better deals I will get for the cattle. That's why cowboys are important. If I have more construction workers, I will be able to build more expensive buildings. Okay, so for one of the actions here, for this one, I think you can actually build. Okay, you can build buildings. So let's say that I have 2 workers here. For 2 workers, I can build this building and place it anywhere in any empty space that I want. Let's say that I place my building here. This is now my building. Only I can use actions on this building. And on top of it all, whenever somebody passes over my building or lands on it, they will have to pay me money, which is cool. Okay? Now, the more workers I have, the more construction workers, these guys I have, the more expensive and powerful buildings with better abilities I will be able to place on the board, okay? And then finally, I have railway workers. The more of them I have, the further and faster I will be able to advance my railway network, okay? So if I use this action here, for example, for every railway worker that I have, I will be able to move my locomotive 1 step forward. If I have 3 of them, for one single action, I will move my locomotive 3 spaces further. So, these guys are very important as well. Okay, so I will hire these workers for one of these actions from this job market here. Okay, that's important. I've just told you about the cattle market. When you buy here, you will take these into your discard pile, and these more expensive cows will bring me victory points at the end of the game. You will see that in these orange shields, okay? So that's how I hire workers, that's how I build buildings, that's how I buy new cattle. There's one more thing that I should tell you guys. As you go along, some actions on these locations will allow you to get rid of to sell some cows directly from your hand, okay? When you do that, you will sell that, you will discard that card, get some dollars for that card. At the end of your turn, you are always required to draw up to your maximum hand size. So if you sell cows from your hand, you will, at the end of your turn, replenish to your maximum hand size. Which means that if you have duplicate cards that would be ignored, okay, here in Kansas City, for example, I have these 2 duplicate cards here, okay? So one of these cards will not count toward my final value of my cattle. Somewhere along the way, I can use one of these actions, I think it's this one, okay, here, to sell one of these guys for $2, and then at the end of that turn, I would draw a new card and hope that it's better. And yes, it's better. So now I will sell my cattle for 7 instead of 5, you know, which matters. So that's why you will be using these actions to sell something from your hand and replenish it with a new card, hoping that you will get a better combination of cards, because duplicates are not counted, as I have told you already. Okay? So that's basically it. On your turn, you will move up to your maximum movement. You will visit a location. You will use either the action of the actions of the location, if it's neutral or if it's yours. You cannot use other people's actions on other people's locations. Or you can choose or be forced to use some of your secondary actions on your player board. You will then reach Kansas City. You will place these guys on the board. You will replenish them immediately after that. I forgot to tell you that. Then you will sell your cattle for a certain amount of money. You can use certificate points to boost value of your cattle, and then you will deliver to one of these cities. You will place the disc on the city where you have delivered, thus unlocking your abilities. Then you will replenish your hand of cards. You will discard your cattle. You will draw a new hand of cards. You will move your cowboy to the starting space, and on your next turn, you will start moving along the trail again. This will happen a number of times. You will go across the trail a certain number of times during the game. When the game ends, you will calculate your victory points. Whoever has the most will be the winner. The game will end as you place workers on the marketplace. Whenever you are required to place a worker well, here where this token is located, this worker will then push, the new worker that we place here will push this token further down. When it falls off the board, it is the end of the game. Okay, at the end of the game, everybody calculates how much victory points they have. Whoever has the most will be the winner. Now, you will get victory points in various different ways. By taking these tiles, for example, by upgrading these stations and taking these station tiles, by having expensive cows in your hand, by getting these into your possession. Sometimes you can remove a hazard. Certain actions will allow you to remove a hazard and take it into your possession, and then then you will get a certain amount of victory points for that. So there's there are also these objective cards that you can get over the course of the game, and then there are certain tasks that you have to perform. If by the end of the game you have performed these tasks, you will earn a certain amount of victory points. So there's various ways to earn victory points. You will calculate all of them at the end of the game. If you have the most, you will be the winner. And that's more or less how this game works. There's a ton of details that I haven't mentioned, because if I tried to mention them all, this video will be far too long. It is too long as it is, I suspect. So this is how the game works. Let me now take you to the last section of the video where I will tell you what I think about the game, if you want to listen to my opinion, of course.
Okay, so this is how Great Western Trail looks like, and this is how it plays. Now, it was pretty obvious, I think, that I did not show you every single detail about the game. This is a really complex, complicated, multifaceted game, and there's a lot going on. But I think I did a pretty good job of showing you how this game generally works and feels, so that you can get some sort of idea about whether it's interesting for you or not. Now, let me tell you, before I tell you my opinion about this game, that there's so many things going on in this game. There's so many things that you have to take care of, so many different mechanisms in this game, first of all. You have a bit of deck building there, right? Your hand of cards represents your cattle, your cows. That's your hand of cards that you can improve over the course of the game. You can include new cards into your discard pile, and then when you reshuffle it, you will get better cows in your hand, right? You will be manipulating your hand of cards by selling certain cards from your hand during your path across the trail. You will sell certain cards, redraw up to your hand, trying to make your hand better, and sell your cattle for more money. So there's deck building, there's hand management, there's resource management, there's a little bit of financial aspect because you're earning money and spending money. There's I don't know, there's, I guess, even a little bit of a rondel mechanism here, because you're going across this trail and you are moving through these spaces, and then you're doing all that all over again, right? So there's a little bit of rondel there. There's a lot of different mechanical let's say devices, if I can use that expression, in the game. A lot tactical opportunities, a lot of stuff that you'll have to pay attention to. What do I think about this game? Well, as you probably know, if you have been watching my other review videos, you know how much I adore games that give me a lot of opportunities, a lot of possibilities, a lot of tactical pathways that I can, strategic pathways that I can take. I love such games. This is a typical example of one of those games. This game gives you so many things that you can do. You know, you can follow any sort of strategy path. You can go heavy on workers, or heavy on advancing your railway, or heavy on selling your cattle and getting more expensive and valuable cows for your herd. You can go for, I don't know, you can go with the building strategy, build as many buildings as you can and gain benefit from that. You can do a lot in this game. And the beautiful thing about it is that in the game you don't have enough time. The game simply doesn't give you enough time to do it all. So if you follow one strategy or two different strategies, you cannot possibly do them all. But the trick is that you will want to, because everything matters and everything is important, but you will not be able to do everything. The game tortures you. It's a sweet kind of torture by not allowing you to do everything that you would like to. But there's so many choices. The game is beautiful that way. Okay? Even if you lose the game, you feel good about having so many opportunities and being able to do so many things over the course of the game. It's beautiful. The game looks beautiful. I mean, the graphic design, the board is absolutely stunning. The illustrations on the cards are beautiful. There's a ton of wooden components, which is something I will always take kindly to. Production quality also great. A lot of wooden components, wooden meeples, wooden discs, high quality cardboard, high quality components. The game just looks and feels beautiful. Now it will be a lengthy game. I don't know what it says on the box. They say that it will last between 75 and 150 minutes depending on the number of players. Now I haven't exactly measured how much time it takes me and my group of players to play this game, but I can tell you this game will last for a long time. And it will take a lot of time to set up. So if you're if you like lightweight games, this is definitely not it, okay? This is definitely the game for those of you who like heavy games, who don't mind spending a couple of hours playing, okay? And being seriously challenged, okay? Because this is one of those games. So if you don't like long games, complicated games, heavy games, this is definitely not for you, in which case you should consider just giving this a pass. But if you are like me, if you like a good challenge, and if you like playing for a couple of hours, if the game is good, then you will absolutely adore this game, because it's fabulous, okay? So, the theme, let me tell you, the theme is just there, okay? You can't really find a lot of Euro games where the theme is so strong and so immersive as in this one. This game has a theme, it is there, and it works, okay? So I really don't have enough words of praise about this game. I want to give it 3 thumbs up. Unfortunately, I don't have 3 thumbs, so I'm only giving it 2 thumbs up, but imagine 1/3 phantom thumb that I just lifted up somewhere here in the middle, okay? Because this game deserves 3 thumbs up from me. Definitely, I definitely recommend this game. Check it out. I'm almost sure most of you guys who like heavier games and longer games will adore this game. Okay, now thank you for watching. This video has lasted far too long as it is. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing and subscribing. As always, please subscribe if you like my channel and watch other videos. Go there and watch other videos. And thank you for watching. Until the next time, all I have to say is goodbye.